All right, folks, it is Monday afternoon, Monday night, whatever you are, wherever you are. And we are live, for a Q&A. So if you have questions about drones, this is your chance to do it. We had a bit of a mess up. So if you were on the other live, it somehow just stopped all by itself. So we had to create a new one. And here we are. So I'm going to give a few minutes for people to join in. I know there were a couple hundred people that were on the other one. So yeah, welcome. It is Monday. It has been a busy day. It has been a busy week last week. Lots of drone news that keeps happening. We just posted did we post post-flight yet?
It was uploading, but I had to stop.
Okay, not done yet. So post-flight is our extended news update that we do on Monday that goes into the premium community. So this will be posted as soon as we're done with this live because we're trying to save the bandwidth right now for this event. So yeah, welcome. Let's see who we have in the community in the list here. After As Media was first, we have Jimothy, Drone Shot, Sparky is here. We have Velo. Velo is like JLo but for drones. We have Josh of All Trades, Victor V. Vic is here, Moss Photography, Sheepdog Patriot, Travis Cheney. We have Rick Hone, Jason Williams, Curtis Warren. I see a lot of familiar faces. Bob Rock. We have Jillian B from the community. What's up, Jillian? We have Star Performer. We have DK for Drones and Hike and Fly, Lance Capture. What's happening? We have Bill, Lance Enterprises. We have James, Northern Drone Guys, November 9, Victor, Papa Victor, Kevin. I think Kevin added his name at the end of it. It used to be just November 9, Victor, Papa Victor. Is that a tail number? Tell me if it's a tail number in the chat. Sure sounds like it. But yeah, Sergio's here, Jerry's here, Scott's here. I think this is a good setup, by the way, guys. I can have my feet up, but it's not visible up here. Well, well, no, you can't show the BTS. Oh, okay. This is very comfortable. So I like it. I'm probably not going to have any blood left in my feet by the time we're done. But all right, we have Penny. Penny's with us as well. It's been a while since I brought Penny into the studio, but she's here today. So all right. Let's get to a couple of questions. But anyway, if you have questions, leave them in the comments, and then we'll get going with it. Any topics you want to talk about? Victor says, I have a question. What could the consequence be of not having visual line of sight on my DJI Mini 4 Pro in Canada? Ooh. So Canada has its own set of rules. They do have visual line of sight requirements. As always, with any regulatory body, it's all about when stuff hits the fan that it becomes an issue. So nobody will probably have any issue with you flying in visual line of sight until you get into a collision with a helicopter at low altitude, and then they realize that you were beyond visual line of sight. So, yep. Kevin says November 9 Victor Papa Victor is a ham radio call. That was my only other guess. All right, Jimothy says, is the Mavic 4 coming out soon? I've seen leaks and it looks so ugly. I don't know. Really? Do you guys think it looks ugly? I guess I've never really cared what the pictures look like, but I guess it's a big round payload in the front maybe. I mean, when is it coming out? It's hard to tell at the moment. We just had this discussion on Friday with Jason during the happy hour. Is DJI coming up with all these models because of a couple months ago we had the pending potential FCC ban that hasn't materialized, but they get scared and then all of a sudden they're submitting all of these drones for approval, possibly. I don't know, hard to tell. So is there a lot of FCC approvals lately because of that, but the drones won't come out for a while? I'm not sure. I don't think the number of pictures that we've seen yet warrants for saying that it's going to come out soon. Typically, when we start to see pricing or when we see Best Buy making a boo-boo and posting pictures or putting them on the shelf, that's usually when we know it's pretty close because they've made it to the distributors. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Travis says, ever thought about dressing as Deadpool and Vic dressing up as Wolverine to do a drone news update? That's an idea. Vic, what say you?
Have you seen the movies, Dre?
No, I've not seen the movies. I know what it is, but I haven't seen the movies. I've seen the beginning of Deadpool, probably the first one.
Oh, wait. You started to watch it and you didn't finish it?
Mm-mm.
Ridiculous.
No, I didn't like. Who is the actor in Deadpool?
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
He's Canadian.
It's not about Ryan Reynolds. It was just the acting was just too. I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad because I know.
Oscar for the second one. Did you not know that?
Yeah, because the Oscar is definitely a reference for great acting. Yeah. Anyways, no, it's just not my thing, man. I don't know.
No, that's okay. You still like Batman.
I do like Batman. See, Batman. I can watch Batman. Like the. I don't know. Yeah.
Let's move on.
It is what it is. Okay. Next. Pew pew. Rick says, if multiple people not related or working for the same company or going to fly the same drone recreationally at separate times and location, does each person need to register it or just one? Just one. So registration is just done. Think about it as your car registration, right? You have kids or your wife or whoever it is that's going to drive your car. You registered the car with the government, and then now it's available for other people to drive it using that registration. That's the easiest way that I can do it. Now you mentioned working for the same company, and then you mentioned flying recreationally. So keep in mind, and I'm sure you know that already because I know you're very active, but for those that are watching, working and recreational, two different things. You cannot use a recreational registration to do work with the drone. Vic says, why is the Avada flying backwards in the intro? It's a good question, Ethan.
Because drones can fly backwards.
Because drones can fly backwards. There you go. Is it really flying backwards?
I don't know.
I usually don't see the intro because I'm getting my makeup done. Sparky says, watch the demo reel video while working on my 2025 reel today. I'm sure you learn a lot, Sparky, and we expect that new demo reel is going to be bangers because of that.
I want to invite him because we're going to do an AMA on Thursday.
Oh yeah, we're going to do an AMA on Thursday that was rescheduled. And we're in the community 4 p.m. Arizona time, so whatever that is in Texas time. And yeah, if that's a serious invite, Sparky. If you want to join us, let us know in the back, and then we'll get you a link to join us. It'll be cool to have you. Obviously, Sparky, if you guys don't know, is one of the person that we've interviewed in the community in Premium to talk about his business amongst a few other people. But Sparkly Water. Sparky has an amazing video production company where he does a lot of work in Texas and all over the country, quite frankly, and has a lot of great wisdom. So it was fun. It was fun having him around and a few other people to record all that stuff. We have some good B-roll that we can show of Sparky. So Jerry says, follow me is for one person only, as we're not allowed to fly over people. I'm assuming flying over oneself is okay. Yeah, if you fly over people that are part of the operation, you're okay. Is this live or Memorex? It is live, Richard. I think Richard's talking about our discussion on Friday during the community. Star Performers says, please discuss the DJI ban and specifically the FTI Consulting DJI Cybersecurity Assessment Executive Summary of September. Well, we're going to talk more about this on News Update this Friday, but on I think Thursday or Friday of last week, after we had recorded News Update, a report came out from FTI Consulting that talked about their findings of DJI drones. So they looked at cybersecurity holes and a few other things. We'll have a full summary on Friday during News Update. But the bottom line was that, again, they didn't really find anything that puts DJI where the government wants to put it. Let's put it this way. Next, Atort. What's up, Anthony? Says a question about flying near an airport or at an airport. How do you go about that entire process? So it depends on a couple things, Anthony. It's going to depend on what the grid looks like on the UAS facility map. So if you go in and you take a look at the color of the UAS facility map of the grid, where you want to fly. So if you're at the airport, chances are that grid is going to be red, not green, meaning that you cannot get Lance approval, or you cannot get approval via a Lance app like Aloft. So you would have to go and get approval via the FAA Drone Zone website directly. It's a bit more advanced, a bit more involved. You'd have to obviously let people know, let the FAA know what you're doing, and give them a good reason for letting you fly in that specific area. So at airports like where Sparky flies, for example, like Class B airport, and Vic also does that as well, the approval has to go through obviously the airport, because they have to let you on the airport in itself. So you have to talk to airport management and get their blessing, work with them first before you have to submit anything else. So you have to make sure you talk to the airport first about what you want to do. So typically flying from the airport is a bit more restricted because you need access to the ramp. Most airports now in the United States have security protocols in place to be able to access the ramp. So you need to make sure that you get that. Whew. Next question. Did you ever think about parting your hair on the side? Yes, I have. I've done it multiple times. It depends on the length. Usually when it's parted on the side is because it's getting too long. So there's that. Do I need a registration for under 250 gram drone Mini 4 to get Lance? No, you don't. So the only time that you need a registration for a sub 250 gram drone is when you are flying under Part 107. Otherwise, you don't. Getting Lance does not require registration. Victor says, I'm in Canada and I have an RC plane, but do I need to also have my MAAC number on the RC plane? Victor, not unfortunately a Canadian expert. I don't know what an MAAC number is, so I won't be able to answer that question, unfortunately. Hike and Fly says, I got a question. I fly recreational and not monetized, but I noticed if my video get over a certain amount of views, YouTube puts an ad on them that would count against since I have my Part 107. No, because you're not really making any money off of that. YouTube is making money. So if your channel is not monetized, but YouTube is still showing ads, that's on them, that's not on you. So that's not an issue. Plus, remember, it's all about the intent of the flight at the time of the flight that dictates if you should be using Part 107 or recreational rules. Practicing Photography says, are you going to review any demo reels? Are you guys going to review any demo reels?
We certainly could.
Yep.
We need to figure out the logistics of being able to share those with us, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there'll be room for feedback on demo reels. So yeah, absolutely. That's why we do these events, so that you guys have the ability to do that in the premium community. Next, Casey FPV says, is a recreational pilot, if a recreational pilot lost their own dog, could they use a thermal drone to find it? In theory, that's a no, because it's no longer recreational, but you know, I have a hard time in situations like this where somebody's life or pet's life is at risk. I fly safely under recreational rules and you'll be just fine. That's all I'm going to say. With Halloween around the corner, if you attach a toy ghost to your drone, what kind of rules would you be breaking if you have your Part 107 not flying over people scenario? None. There's no rules about putting skins on your drone. Although sometimes some of these should be outlawed, if you ask me.
Have you seen any of the ones like a Grim Reaper?
Yeah, this is an old. There's really old videos of people doing that a long time ago, initially with drones. No, there's no rules against it as long as you fly safely.
If it was a real ghost, it would be hazardous material, though, right?
If it's a real ghost, I don't know. Is it hazardous material? Ghosts are made of what? Real ghosts. Vapor?
I don't know.
Vaporware?
Annabelle?
There's been a lot of vaporware in the drone industry, so you guys remember? You guys probably don't remember, but some of you that are watching might remember the Lily drone. The Lily drone was going to be my second drone after I bought the Inspire, the Phantom 1. The Lily drone was going to be this amazing drone that was going to follow you everywhere. Kind of what eventually Skydio did many years later with their follow drone. But it was going to be, they had all these videos of the drone online that eventually turned out they were shot on a different, I think they were shot on a DJI drone actually. And it became this big vaporware thing. And a lot of people didn't get a refund. I was lucky. I was one of the first ones to request a refund, and I was able to get my money. But that's right around the corner, right around the time when the Lily was supposed to come out, and then all of a sudden GoPro came out with their drone. And then soon after that, DJI came up with the Mavic drone. And then the Mavic just kind of ended both of these companies. Also, although I always think the Lily was always going to be vaporware, regardless of what DJI did. But yeah, the Lily. Vic laughs because he probably remembers that. Ectoplasm, is that what it's made of, Jillian? That's funny. Philip says, notice my new DJI has a sticker on both bikes and the drone that says that it's made in Malaysia. Is that true? Huh. Interesting. Which drone is that, Philip? The bike, I wouldn't be surprised, but the drone, that is interesting. How would that be? Well, it depends on the proposed bans, because some of them are proposing bans based on parts that are coming from China. So if it's still Chinese parts that are assembled in Malaysia, then that would make it different. I don't know. Good question. I'm not an expert in imports either, but the ban does specifically mention where the parts are coming from, the proposed bans, I should say. The Karma, thank you, Vic. That was the Karma was the GoPro drone. Yeah. Anyways, next question. Cascade Drone Services says, did you happen to see the news about the report from independent investigator that concluded DJI isn't sending info to the Chinese government? Yes. Yep. Mentioned that a few minutes ago. That's well, I never remember the name of that company, FTI Consulting. So, and we talked, anyways, I was going to talk about the GAO report, but we talked about that last week. Next, I got one for you. I was at a state park, but when I went to the app, it said it was uncontrolled airspace. It was also a native reservation land. Can't fly there because this is not an airspace restriction. It's a land restriction. So you have to make sure that you check that the land in itself, you're able to take off and land from that area. I would not fly on a reservation because they have their own rules. It's sovereign land, so you want to make sure that you respect those restrictions. So don't fly there unless you have approval from the reservation folks first. I wish that's Bournemouth says, or Bournemouth. I think that's how they say it. I wish the DJI Neo. I went to Bournemouth. That's in England, on the coast. I wish the DJI Neo was compatible with the RC Pro or any way of getting a live clean HDMI out. It's perfect Cat 1 for flying over people. Yeah, we've had a discussion multiple times. I wish DJI would make their controllers more compatible with every and any drone. So what if it's Godzilla? It's Godzilla's ghost. I don't know. Does that change anything?
Well, it'd be cold-blooded, right?
Well, ghosts are already cold. It's cold air, right? Unlike hot air that's coming out of some security experts. Engineer Drone Services says, I'm in Boston. Oh, that's our friend Minot. I'm in Boston. Any thoughts on having a contest for members here to recommend the PI course topic for? And if you produce sorry, I can't read. And if you produce it, they could win a trophy. A Boston specific trophy? That's a little bit much. We do have a contest. I mean, I know you know that, Minot, but yeah. Michael says, I think Michael is German, if I'm going to guess. Do you have to know all the CBO guidelines by heart, or just have to have them with you if you're a recreational pilot? You just have to have them with you and follow them. You don't need to be able to repeat them for boredom, but yeah. James says, did you see the police body cam of the guy who shot the Walmart delivery drone? You know what? It's in my inbox. I see that somebody sent it to me, but I haven't looked at it yet. Today has been one of those days where stuff just happens one after the other. So I'm going to go and take a look at that. Sparky says, I've sent a link to 51 drone video about the FTI investigation to Stefanik and Skydio with extremely professional wording. I do not doubt the extremely professional wording one bit. Sparky. What are you guys laughing? Well, haters will say that FTI was probably paid for that or whatever is going to come out, but of course, this is 2024 where you can find anything you want online that's going to agree with your point or disagree with your point, and there you go. This is why this election is going to be so much fun. Was it legal to fly in a national park? Michael, that's just park rules. My discussion with the park rangers is that they recover drones in areas that are difficult to get to. Drones are fire hazard with the battery. Obviously, they're also a polluting hazard with the battery. So my discussion was with a ranger in the Grand Canyon National Park, where if you lose your drone, which people do, crash it, it could start a fire. I don't know that I want to see the national park, the Grand Canyon on fire. So it's mostly to protect the land and the land use. It's also because national parks are put in place to usually protect animal species that probably don't want to be disturbed by drones. It might sound controversial. I know Vic disagrees with me, but I don't want to see drones in national parks. I want to go to national parks to enjoy the peace and quiet, and the last thing that I want to see is just a bunch of drones everywhere. Selfie cameras are already a pain in the butt everywhere they are. Also, although, this selfie sticks, what do you call it? Yeah, the selfie stick thing has kind of disappeared a little bit, but that was annoying enough. I don't want to see drones everywhere in the landscape.
What if they instituted a minimum height requirement?
No, I think it's not. It still doesn't. A minimum height requirement still doesn't break the issue of losing the drone in an area where you can't go get it.
Sure, I was just
And
like annoyance.
yeah, they, if anything, have a designated area where you can fly a drone under, control and away from visitors and whatever it is. But then if you do that, people are just going to fly everywhere they want. I don't know. Give them an inch, right? Are you allowed to smoke in national parks? It depends, Lon. It depends on the conditions. I live in an area where fire is very prevalent, and a cigarette butt can light up acres and acres and acres. We've had actually drone crashes north of us in Flagstaff that have started fires, acres of fires. So not cool. 8 Hort, Anthony says, so with the Neo, you can fly over anyone, anywhere. Yeah, pretty much it's category 1. So
What about moving vehicles?
moving vehicles, yes, within it's not unlimited access to flying over moving vehicles. So go look at the regulation and what it says for flying over moving vehicles with a category 1. Ben says, what are your thoughts on the restriction put on local pilots wanting to assist their neighbors in Asheville region of storm impact? Seems like sour grapes on the part of the federales. Well, yeah, I get somebody sent me a message today that what's the DOT guy? Buttigieg. Asked people not to fly over Asheville and the area because it was conflicting with search and rescue efforts. If that's the case, put a TFR in place, and that's what the FAA needs to do. Those TFRs need to be put in place. There was no TFR last time we checked for all these areas, so trying to tell people not to fly when there's no TFR and the airspace is open is dumb. Buttigieg is in charge of the FAA. He's the head dude, okay? He's not the, he's in charge of the DOT, which is in charge of the FAA. So if you want to put a TFR in place, and then people will not fly there. And if they do, then yeah, tell them not to fly there, but don't tell people to not fly when they've actually, a lot of people have been helping with bringing, after how many days has it been? 5-6 days now since the storm, where people are not getting help. Drone pilots are flying why can't I talk tonight? They're sending insulin, they're sending water, they're sending food to people that need it. So I hate to say it, but if there's no TFR and you can save somebody's life, just go and do it. It's really that simple. So. Yeah, Vic has a good point. Well, you need remote ID to fly over people on the NEO. So thank you for mentioning that, Vic. You do need to add a remote ID module in order to fly over people with the NEO to make it Part 107 compliant. So it is a Category 1 drone, but it does need to have a module on top of it. Thank you. John says, near Class D airspace, is it required to get both LANC and DJI authorization, auto approval to 300? Auto approval to 300 means that you can fly up to 300 with approval. So you still need to get approval for LANC, that's the government section. And then depending on if DJI is blocking you from flying, then you need to do that with DJI as well. So DJI will prevent you from flying. That's just their approval. That has nothing to do with the actual federal approval that the LANC would provide you. So you need to do both if both are required. Look, Mama Drone says, when somebody makes a YouTube video and they clearly can be flying a drone there, what happens? Well, I mean, if you're posting it, it's like posting a video of you speeding on the highway, right? You're not supposed to do it, and you post evidence, then that can be used against you. So, yeah. Next, could I use my drone in a national park if a police officer asks me to find someone that is lost? Nope, you can't, Richard. A police officer doesn't really take over the National Park Authority. So the authority to fly a drone in a national park lies on the National Park Superintendent, and that's who would give you approval. And also, yeah. Sky Optics, do you think the DJI Smart Controller is worth investing in? The Smart Controller, that's the original. I think I had the discussion last week. The Smart Controller is going to be cheaper these days. That was the first model that came out of smart controllers from DJI. And it's a great controller, but its compatibility is limited. So I would say buy one, but keep in mind that it may not be compatible in the future. So if you find a heck of a deal and you have a drone that, like a Mavic 2, for example, that you know you're going to be using for a while, then yeah, I think it's a great platform. Jethro 360 says, just wanted to say I take my FAA exam tomorrow. Wish me luck. You've got this, man. If you studied with us, there is no reason you should be worried. So you've put in all the work. Now it's time to convert. Next, DJI Air 3S possible leak to drop October 15. How likely do you think that is? Well, October, what is today? 7? That's 1 week from today. I mean, it's a possibility. It would make sense. We have seen the FCC approval. We've seen pricing leaks. We've seen high-res pictures. The checklist is kind of checking all the boxes right now for having a release, an imminent release, I would say. Let's wait and see if DJI post an event for a release. They usually do it about, a week in advance, a couple days in advance. So if this week we start to see an event from DJI about them releasing something, it's probably going to be that drone. KCFPV says, I was at a kids football game and someone flew a Mavic 3 and Avata over people, checked air control app and it's near an airport and the takeoff height was 0. Yikes. How could this person legally be flying? Very, 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 very unlikely. Actually, 100% unlikely with the Avata and the Mavic 3 because they're over 400 grams, so they would need to have a parachute on top to be approved to fly over people with a waiver. So if they didn't have a parachute, I wouldn't put a parachute on the Avata, by the way. Unless you fly it in grammar mode. Sorry, not grammar mode. In GPS mode. I was trying to be funny. So very unlikely that they were flying legally. Not to mention the zero grid, so not good, not cool. Practicing Photography says, if a drone is lost due to a flyaway, can you get in trouble for BV loss? No, because at that stage it becomes an emergency. So I would, what I would do is I would file what's called a NASA report, an ASRS report, with the with NASA. Technically, it's a report that's anonymous that is going to be helping you in case something happens, and it's good for them to collect data on drone flyaways. So tell them what happened, and then you'll be good if something happened, obviously. Lon says, how did they beat the DJI no-flight zone? It's a good question. I mean, you can get approval from DJI to fly there, but usually they're going to ask for proof that you have approval to fly there in the first place. But that doesn't mean that you can't fly over people. So you could fly in a zero grid. That's not impossible. The flying over people is what makes it difficult. Rick says, a categorized drone for recreational pilots. Nope. Only for Part 107. So the categorized definition and all of the rules that are talking about flying over people are only under Part 107. Recreational pilots cannot buy a Cat 1 drone and fly it over people. So anybody who's recreational and flying over people is doing so against community-based organization guidelines. All of them require no flying over people, and then against the FAA. Lon says, professionally, you'd need to have a module on the Neo. Yes, that's correct. You need remote ID compliance, which is not included. eTort says, say, for example, I'm at a college football game. I can fly a Neo around the stadium. Be careful. Well, college football game are not covered by the stadium TFR. So, yeah, you could technically do that as long as there is no TFR in place. Yes. Wolfpack says, to fly in assistance of emergency services, you need your Part 107 at the bare minimum. Yes, that is. Thank you for mentioning that. Get pre-qualified and credentialed before the weather event. Don't wait until emergency if you want to help. Yes, I would even add to that. Thank you, Wolfpack. I would even add to that to also talk to public safety agencies before something happens. When there is an emergency, the last thing they want to have to do is try to figure out if you're trained, if you're qualified and all that, they're going to turn you away. So get involved with emergency management first, volunteer for a while, tell them what you're capable of, get some hours under your belt doing that. And then when the emergency shows up, they'll call you to come in and help, if that makes sense. The Italian Ways is here and says here they're stopping drones in North Carolina trying to drop supplies. How can they when how can they when we're allowed to fly? Yep, it's one of those things. Now also keep in mind that dropping supplies beyond visual line of sight, well, dropping supplies under Part 107 should be done within visual line of sight. Anything should be done within visual line of sight, technically. So I have a hard time, and I'm going to say it. I have a hard time in an emergency situation with not doing what is necessary to help people in need, as long as common sense is used and common sense is used and the rules of safety are followed. And I hope this message comes across the right way. If you can do something where you can drop somebody insulin and that is going to be the difference between life and death, then it needs to be done, right? So as long as we use our brain when flying our drones in emergency situation, then there is that. So that's what I'm going to say. Lou says, anyone else having issues with the Mavic 4P, that's a mini 4P batteries? What issues are you having, Lou, I guess is the question. Steven Drones says, I check with Airspace Link before I fly. Airspace Link says, okay, but only 200 feet every time. Why is that? I don't know. Depends on where you're flying, Steve. You got to make sure that whatever grid you're in, could be that you're in a 200-foot grid every time you want to fly, which I don't know if you're always flying from the same spot, but if that's the case, then yes. If you're in a grid, though, you need to get approval before you fly. Even if it's immediate approval, you still have to check that box and do it. Lon says, what's the possibility of the Air 3S actually being available in the US on day one? I know what you know. I'm not going to comment on it.
Lou made a comment about his Mini 4 batteries.
Who made a comment? Lou did, not Lon. No, Lon knows what I'm talking about.
But yes, the Mini 4 batteries at the last comment.
Yeah, the Mini 4 battery is different. I don't know, Lon, if these drones are going to be available on day one. We'll find out. Curtis says, why does everyone pronounce it DJI? Who says DJI? DJI? That doesn't sound like somebody. DJI? When you said quick, DJI? Yeah. Do I say DJI? That doesn't sound right. DJI. DG. Oh, really? Yeah. DJ, like drone, like a DJ. Wiki what? DJI. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why people mispronounce things. These damn foreigners. Wait. I can say that because I'm a foreigner, or used to be, or whatever. All right, look, Mama Drone, what drones do not have geofencing? Well, pretty much everything but DJI. DJI. Yeah, anything but DJI does not have geofencing. A lot of YouTubers say DJI. Yeah, I don't know. Slap him. Boop, 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 boop. Why do you have to have a permit to fly in North Carolina? You don't anymore. I think if drone shots, if you're talking about the North Carolina special course that you had to do in the past and special registration, that is no longer in effect. So they've stopped doing that. I think that's what you're talking about. I don't know. North Carolina is the state that had the special permit, so I'm guessing that's what he says. I knew Vic was going to say. He said, Vic says you do sometimes because you say Freya. I say Freya because the I in Freya is identification, so it needs to be pronounced like I. Like GIF for graphical. It's a GIF, not a GIF, because it's pronounced graphical, G. So it's a Freya because it's a FA recognized identification area. When you start saying identification, then we'll call it a Freya. Okay. Sorry, Vic and I, we've had this discussion multiple times. Vic has told me the words that I said incorrectly, and I've modified them. So thank you, Vic. Lou says, wait. Michael says, do we know the state of the DJI ban in Congress? The latest that we saw, the amendment that was submitted to the NDAA bill was rejected. The drone amendment was rejected. So that's a win for those that believe that there should not be a ban for Chinese drones at the moment. Yeah, that's it. Lou says, has anyone having or had issues with the Mini 4 Pro battery? Communication errors, critical low battery, must land even when the battery is 80 to 90%. Ooh, that's something you definitely need to talk to customer support about, Lou. Sounds like either a battery that may have a bad cell. I don't remember how many cells are in the Mini 4 Pro battery. 2 cells, probably 2 cells. But if one of the cell is unbalanced, then it could give you an error message. Even if you had a lot of charge on the battery, if they're imbalanced enough, the 2 different cells, then it could give you an error message. So I don't remember for the Mini 4 Pro if you can see the battery cell percentage per cell, but if you go to the battery health, no, you can't, right? Yeah.
I don't think you can anymore on anything.
Oh yeah. Oh, with the Fly app, that's right. You may not be able to do that anymore.
I flew our Mini 4 Pro over the weekend though, and I took the battery down to 20-30%.
Yeah, it's not a percentage issue. My guess it's a balance issue between the 2 cells. So, Al says, can individual towns require Part 107 to fly within their city limits, or is the FAA only? No, that's only no, I don't think so. That's a good question for Vic. Vic, what do you think? Can individual towns require Part 107 to fly within their city limit? I'm going to say no, but I'm trying to think about why they wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah. Huh. I'm going to say no because I don't believe in township overreach. Eric says, might you get some protection from Good Samaritan law in an emergency situation? You would, but I don't know to what extent the Good Samaritan law extends. I think the Good Samaritan is an event just happens and you're reacting like somebody just passes out and you give them mouth to mouth and then they die. I think that's what would protect you with the Good Samaritan law. You were trying to do something good. I don't know if it extends to activities past an immediate emergency, but I'm, again, not a lawyer on this, so I can't say, but I don't know. Penny. Michael says, what class or category is a drone like the Global Hawk? Not categorized. Not categorized. So we don't have classes in the United States. We have categories. Classes are in Europe. Debonair Drone says, did you hear about the helicopter pilot that got in trouble for rescuing people in North Carolina? Yeah, I watched a video on that this weekend. How can this happen if he had FAA approval? The way that it happened is somebody got butthurt on the other side that he was doing something that they didn't know about. And that's an absolute shame. So for those of you that are not familiar with, I'm going to say it the way that it was reported. There could be 2 sides to the story, but this person was a private owner of a helicopter and there was no TFR in place, decided to go fly around to see who he could help, found this couple that had their house gone in a mudslide, and he was able to rescue the wife. Said he would come back. He dropped off the wife in a place where there was search and rescue going on, and was told by the chief of the fire department, that he would get arrested if he went up again to rescue more people. Just atrocious, if you ask me, if that's what happened. Second thing is that the next day, people were asking private aircraft owner to help with search and rescue the following day. So yeah, just not good. It's tough. It's a tough thing. You know why it's a tough thing? Because I 100% respect the folks that are doing this on the ground that need access to the airspace. But from the sound of it, this person had coordinated, had gotten approval to do this. He just had not coordinated with that specific landing site where he was. He had been given frequencies to talk on the radio. So I don't know if there was a miscommunication and he wasn't able to coordinate with them. But it sounded to me from the interview, from a bunch of what I heard, that he was doing this as safely as he could. Obviously, it's a chaotic situation when these things happen. Now, he wasn't able to go and help the person again and brought them back to rescue. What they ended up doing was he had to swim across the river attached to a rope, which could not have been any safer than being in that helicopter to cross the river. So anyways, again, it happens. Wolfpack says, putting on your tinfoil hat. Oh boy. And looking into your crystal ball, even better. How do you see the low airspace evolving into in the next 12 to 24 months? Ooh, I like that. We just had a discussion this morning on beyond visual line of sight. That might be what you're talking about. So, as some of you may know, I'm a fan of this document that the FAA created, which is called the Concept of Operation 2.0 for the UTM, Unmanned Traffic Management System. And in there, the FAA, and this document is getting old now. It's a couple of years old. It's 5 years old, I think, or 6 years old. But the FAA kind of highlights what their thoughts are as far as how the low altitude airspace is going to look like in the future. And as we are on the cusp of a beyond visual line of sight NPRM, Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, I think we're going to see a lot of the concepts that are in that document being proposed by lawmakers, and so by the FAA, I should say. So my guess is that we're going to see mandatory equipment for detect and avoid, DAA technology, that we're going to see network remote ID in some shape or form, because the FAA has said in the previous NPRM for remote ID that we weren't ready just yet for network remote ID, but it wasn't going away anytime soon. So we ended up with the current remote ID that we have. But network remote ID, I think, is going to be very much in the notice of proposed rulemaking. So I think what we'll see is in the low airspace, we'll see companies that are going to provide a service for traffic separation, where you'll have to find some sort of a flight plan if you want to fly beyond visual line of sight, where they're going to be able to share with other people who's in the airspace flying at that time. It's going to look very much like what air traffic control is providing as a service today for IFR pilots, but it's going to be provided automatically by a centralized data center, if you want. I see companies like Aloft more than likely providing this service in the future. So I see the airspace, at least where the airspace is going to be complex, however you want to define that, probably a near airports in controlled airspace is how this is going to look for people to fly beyond visual line of sight. And then, like I said, detect and avoid technology of some sorts, whether it's ground-based radar or on-board radar for certain drones. And I think by no means it's going to be a walk in the park where you're going to take a test and basically say, hey, now I can fly beyond visual line of sight with my Mini 3 Pro. I don't think that's how it's going to work. So
We just had like a 10-minute good
we had, yeah.
on post-flight
Yeah, on Post Flight this morning, we had a long discussion about that. So if you're in the premium community, make sure you go check it out as soon as it's posted tonight.
And we have links to what you're mentioning.
Yep, and so yeah, I think it's going to be. I'd love to have a deeper discussion with a few folks on what this is going to look like, and obviously I'm just making stuff up now based on an educated guess of what I think is going to happen. But I think it's going to change quite a bit in the next 2 years for sure. Richard says, do you recommend having liability insurance even if you fly recreationally? Yep. This country is the country of litigation. So whether you're doing this recreationally or commercially, you absolutely should have liability insurance. Fox First on Scene says, I think there needs to be some clarification about transitioning over people. I have heard two versions of the law. There's only one version. It's okay to fly over people as long as you're transitioning. No, that is not correct. I don't know where that came from. I want to see who made that video and smack them in the back of the head, because it has created so much confusion. In order to fly over people, you need to have categorized drone. End of discussion. Macro Acquire says, I use OpenSky app, I don't know what that is, to check my airspace around an airport, and it showed a blue flight path to the airport. Have you seen this highlight Class D? I don't use the app, so I don't know what color code they're using. I would say go to the US facility map. That's the best way to do it. Yep, James has a great answer. Without a category compliant drone, you cannot fly directly over people, not even for a moment, not even for transitioning. All of the transitioning, if you go to ecfr.gov, that's where the actual Code of Federal Regulation lives electronically for the government. Great source, .gov, that's where you'll get the latest regulation. If you go in there and you go to Part 107 and you do a search for transiting or transitioning, I think the FAA uses the term transiting, but even transitioning, look for those two and see where the regulation lives. One of these paragraphs before that, there is a little applicability paragraph, and the applicability says that you have to have a categorized drone to do any of that. Okay. So yeah, if you hear somebody says it's okay to do it, even if it's just transitioning without a categorized drone, they are incorrect. Please send them over to me. I have a dilemma. I'm starting my drone roof inspection and real estate video and photo besides my Sony A7 Charlie A7C. What's A7C? I own a Avata 2, an Air 3, and I need a thermal drone. Which should I go? 3 drones that I would recommend for thermal that are not necessarily cheap, but on the cheaper side as far as thermal. Mavic 3 Enterprise thermal, that's just the go-to right now. Autel Evo 640, which is the thermal version, or the new Autel, which is the the other one, the Light. Thank you. The Autel Light Enterprise Thermal. Autel Light. That's a new one, a bit cheaper in the $3,000 range, but seems to be getting pretty good reviews. Pew. You can fly indoors over people without restriction. Correct. Will our drone need a cellular plan for network remote ID? Yes. Yes. That's at least, yes. I mean, yes. That was the reason why so many people were opposed to network remote ID, myself included, early on when that was proposed in the NPRM, is because it adds a layer of cost that makes access to the airspace no longer free. I believe that airspace access should remain free. It's a slippery slope if we don't do that. Then we end up being like Europe, where we've killed general aviation because of that. Pew. Did you guys notice UAV forecast app is by subscription now? Really? What? Seriously? Not even basic features? I've used that a lot. That sucks. If that's the case, that's...
Subscribe for real-time hyper-local forecasts.
Do you have access to anything else?
It's a preview.
A preview of what?
What it could look like.
What it could look like? God. Okay, well that sucks. That's dumb. How much is the subscription? A couple dollars a month?
I bet you Adobe bought them.
Good burn. Did Adobe buy them? Or that drone company that starts with an S that does subscription only for flying their drones? Special features?
$50 a year maximum.
50?
Down to $7 a year.
Wait, is that a pick and choose what you want to give?
Yeah.
What the heck? Oh, it's a donation?
No.
No.
It's how many days out your forecast goes.
Oh. 24-hour forecast is $7 a year. Granted, that's not horrible.
No, it's not.
Hobbyist is $26 a year or $50 a year. Okay, so depending on how far you want to see the forecast and what altitude. So if you're a hobbyist and you want to find out what it is tomorrow within 24 hours, it's going to cost you $7 a year. Okay, well, I mean, you can't blame a company for... I'm sure it costs. A free app is never free. There's developer money. So if it's an app that you use, it's considered a donation of $7 a year. It's half a Starbucks with a latte pumpkin pump.
Make the app
Is that right?
$25.
How much?
Make the app $25 and I buy it.
Yeah, a one-time fee. Yeah. Ben, what's your latte drink with pumpkin at Starbucks? How many pumps of latte?
For a skinny vanilla latte.
A skinny vanilla latte. That starts wrong already.
With
Two pumps
combos of a pump.
of pumpkin. How do they pump the pumpkin? How do they fit it in the pump?
It's like the stick of dynamite. You just pump.
Sorry, I'm making fun of my staff. I never do that. 10 English words that French people can't pronounce. Thorough. Through. Yeah, the TH sound does not exist in French. That is correct. It is hard for people to say. Okay, next. Look, Mom, a drone. Why do they have drone conventions in Vegas if you cannot fly a drone there? Good question. Good question. You can still fly, but you have to go a little bit further outside. That's mostly because it's so damn hot in Vegas that you stay indoors and you listen to people talk about their accomplishments.
Vic flew in Vegas last time.
Vic flew in Vegas, got arrested by the Chippendales.
You do have. Make sure you have your paperwork and wait for his order, right? 2 minutes.
Vic is going to laugh because he sent us a picture of the Vegas police and they have this uniform that is skin color. So it looked like literally he got arrested by Chippendales. I wish we could show the picture. Is your boy still wearing toe shoes? Yes, Jason is still wearing toe shoes. Lon, sorry. Will insurance companies cover recreational flights? Yes, some of them will. Yeah, they will. You can find recreational coverage for pretty cheap, like $40-50 a year. Can you give us more information about the November Drone Expo in Vegas? So it's not an expo, it's a meetup. Drone meetup is on the weekend of the 10th, 9, I think it's 9 and 10th of November. And I'm sure we will have Lens Capture provide us more information about the event. Please put a link in the description to the event. I don't remember the exact link. But yeah, it will be 2 days of fun drone events with 2.5 days. The Friday night is a get together, and a lot of people will be there. So, Lon, I'm not repeating your comments. 10-Point Hunter says, if I register a 250 gram plus drone for recreation, do I have to register all my sub 250? Nope, it's drone specific. So only the drones that are over 250 need to be registered. You're going to use one registration number and you're going to put it on all the drones that are over 250 grams. Bournemouth says, what is the definition of indoor? Like, could I fly over people under a huge catering tent? Yeah, as long as it's got a top that prevents access to the outside, you're good. Yeah, the insurance from the AMA membership is for recreational use only. Yes, thank you, First Medic. Cool. Whew. What time? Whoa, crap, it's 5. How did that happen? That's crazy. Vic says, searched by the Chippendale. Any info on Part 108? Too early to say anything about Part 108 at the moment. A lot of what I discussed earlier from Wolfpack's question is kind of Part 108 related, but at this stage, Part 108 is more of a guess from anyone than anything else, unless you're one of the FAA employees that is working on that behind closed doors, and yeah, that's it. But yeah, it's all speculation at this stage. All right, folks. Well, this might be a good point to end. So thank you all for watching. It's been a pleasure. We will be back on Monday next week to do this. No, I'm sorry. No live Monday. We'll be traveling to Florida. If there's still Florida left by then, hopefully. Please, if you live in the area that's going to get hit by this new hurricane, please stay safe. Evacuate if you need to. It looks like it's a Cat 5, which is no joke. Cat 5s are don't stay in your home to try to ride a Cat 5. It's too much. So if you're on the coast, please evacuate inland if possible. Cat 5 is, yeah, it's scary. Cat 5 is scary. So we're supposed to be on the East Coast in Daytona the following Monday. So if the event doesn't get canceled, we won't be here. If the event is canceled, then we will be here. So keep an eye on what we schedule, and then but yeah, hopefully it's not canceled. It means that Florida has not sustained massive damage, but yeah, we'll be crossing our fingers for everybody in Florida and hoping that this thing doesn't go any further north and doing more damage. So this is a pretty bad season, unfortunately. Okay, folks, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Friday for news update.